Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have the blank, which is fantastic. I have addicts on my rack with the blank as an S. Through an E or a D, I would have addicted. I also have didax, the anagram of addicts. So, will I get my bingo down? Always great to start the game with a bingo. And could there be some other sevens here? Just mentally running through the alphabet. Not seeing anything. I would have didactic through the right floater. No, not seeing anything other than those I've mentioned. The C can be an awkward tile in terms of parallel plays because only CH is a valid two-letter C word. Now, hisn does take an S, so I am bingoing, and I'll get value from the Z. Fantastic. What would be better? Possibly a double-double through the I. Didactic does play, but not as a double-double. Let me see what the score would be. 94. And about 80 for addicts and hisns, so it would be worth finding a double-double. So this rack plus an I, that's didactic. This rack plus an I. Well, I'm going to stop there. I think with two Ds, I think it's very unlikely that one would exist. So I am going to play addicts for 80. Well, not bad for 7 random tiles. Slightly vowel dry, but the Y is a quasi-vowel. I've created a hot X spot with addicts. Double-double lane remains available in row E and also in column 5, both with an I, but in slightly different positions. I have the LY ending and the ILY ending. Not seeing anything. I could play Bliney through the I of addicts and get that doubled. That would leave a decent rack leave of ELP. What about getting value from the Z? ZE is good. I've got 3 high-scoring tiles. It would be good to play off at least 2 of them. Now, my Bliney spot's been taken. Bliney does play in row E, but it doesn't get doubled. Now, I was considering column 9 plays, making ZE. But none of my scoring tiles goes to the right of E. Now, what about a double-double in column 5? Well, if I had a G, I might have Belling. Gosh, or an I for Bellini. No, not seeing anything. I do have an N. Let me just put this in for consideration of plays in row K. DAE is good. Wow, all of my scoring tiles go under DE, so an E would need to go there. Wow. The best I can do is just Ben or Pen, keeping double LY. $29 points. Horrible rack lead, but that's my starting position. What about row H? Nothing goes in front of DE, so I'd be looking at 2-letter plays. Well, what about Benzil? I think this has got a lot of merit. Look at the rack leaves, so much better than the others I was considering. 24 points is fewer points, but I think the rack leave compensates. And I'm playing off 2 of my 3 scoring tiles. I am going with this. Well, I draw the Q, which isn't great. Through an M, I would have Korma. I lead by 20. And onto an H, I would have Cough, which doesn't score very much, but it does burn the Q. And the rack leave's not bad. AGLR goes well with any vowel. How else can I burn the Q? Well, onto a T, I would have Cat. I have Chin in column 5. What about holding on to the Q? Well, I would need a pretty decent score. G and P go badly with the Q, so it would be good to play off both of them. And the O goes badly. I'm not seeing a 5 or 6 out of play with GOP. Best I can see is Glop, Ob, and P, which isn't bad. 26 points. The Q is worth about minus 9 or minus 10. Now, what about column 5, a double-double ending ING? Wow, do I have labouring as a double-double? LAORG. I do. Wow. That, I think, would definitely be better than Cough in terms of score and rack leave. Oh, an opponent blocks it. And blocks Cough. How annoying. So, wretched opponent. And plays an H, but not in a position for Cough. So, what do I have? I have Gallop on my rack. Whoever gets the next S is going to score handily with Benzils. So, ING is good. So what about Gallop? It's good to turn over tiles to try and draw a U or an I or an S. 24 points. Not great, but not terrible either. I am going with this. Well, I do not draw any of the tiles I wanted apart from the S, but the rest of the rack is absolute junk, and I am minded to change. And I'll keep either RS or NRS. Only one N to come, so maybe NRS is the right keep. So, an opponent changes. That's good news. Is this the right thing to do? Well, any alternative to changing would involve playing through a vowel, and I'm not seeing any ones that offer anything good. So I'm going to keep NRS. So I have Minster in column 11. I was waiting to have too many consonants, and I nearly did have, but I do have a 7-letter bingo on my rack. Minster, Minters, and Entrism, 2 of which play in column 11, and some of which play in column 10 as well because of gallops. Ing takes an S and an O. None of my bingos play in row L. I'm just waiting for my opponent to repeat his party piece of blocking all of my candidate plays. Now, I think Thermins is good, in which case I have a row D bingo, but that's jolly close to column 11, so could also be blocked. I have Minster in row L, where opponent plays, but that's not terrible because I can get value from a column 11 bingo sticking an S on the end of Benzil, the spot I was waiting for opponent to play in. Is this the best? Entrism would place an E in row A. Minters doesn't play, so this is the only bingo. And this is better than entrism and Diane's. Wow. Well, this looks a bad rack, but I don't think it is. I think it's a good rack. I think I can definitely play through this. I've got Jew on my rack and I've got Jux. So if either of those play, I should be in business. Not seeing anything through the E of Minster getting tripled. Although I do have just JEW, but that score's pretty wretched. So anywhere for Jux. Probably not how the French pronounce it. Oh wow, close to being playable in row G, but OBU not good. Well, I don't think there is anywhere. That's a shame. And Wex is also a possibility, which does play in column 10. Wex, Z and M. EW is good, so I've also got Wex in column 12. On to a T, I would have up jet. I don't have anything which goes on to the end of AD. Poor is good, but I don't have any 5-letter poor words. What about a 3-letter play? No. Ah, well, Wex. Oh, my word, look at this. I have Wex, Law, Oi, and Pax. That is going to be a big score. And there are plenty of scoring spots around the board, so opponent may leave that alone. Not that that's in his nature. So I can play Wex with an additional E as well. And that would leave JUP. I think dupe may be good, JUPE. I may have made that up. Now, Jux does play in column 10, but it places a J in the middle of row A, which isn't terrible. Very few bingos have J's in them. And it's also quite rare to have a 6-letter J play on your rack. And J tends to be at the beginning of words, so that's not massively risky, but it's low scoring. And Wex is definitely better, but I'm considering, well, what if Wex is blocked? Oh, wow, well, it is, which is a shame, but it was a fairly decent candidate spot, so can't complain. New is good, but I'm not going to get a play doubled. What about playing Wex here? 46 points, pretty handy. W is covering the double letter square, so scoring potential in column 1 is limited. Yeah. Is this the right place? So easy to score in row C. It's not column 1, that's the problem. It's row C with this X under a double letter square. But it's 46 points. I have Pee-wee, but that's one short of the triple. Remet, what does that take on the end? I don't think anything. If I get 46 points, it's good, but I'm just going to be handing back most of that straight away and struggling with the J. Let me see what Jux scores. 33 points. Yeah. I think this rack leave is much nicer than JUP. And both P and W go underneath NE, and the opponent may well be distracted by this J and play Raj for 30 points. "12 minutes on my clock. Is this the play? I think it is. I am going with it. So through an E, I would have previews. E of Jacks not available. I have pervs in row N for a pretty decent score. Over 40 points. I have jivers in row A. Fantastic. That would score the most, I think, of the plays I've considered. And I have, yes I do, I have review in row H, which holds on to the S. So I'm in pretty decent shape here. I've got lots of candidate plays. No bingos, but that's okay. Just checking this E of Hisens for previews, and that's not available. So review, 48, jivers, 60. Wow, 12-point difference, but jivers burns the S and keeps PW. So I think those plays are close. Review leaves SP, which is a good rack leave. I'm minded to play review. I'm not too worried about opponents scoring off the J. And the S is pretty useful because row N is a bingo lane for bingos ending in S and still one blank to come. Not seeing any alternative to jivers in row A. Review is going to stick an E out in the open, but given that I'm retaining P and S, that might be useful. Great opponent. Well, his opponent does score quite well, but not ridiculously massive. And look at this, I have review for 48. And I draw the final blank. Fantastic. 10 minutes on opponent's clock, 12 on mine. So I lead by a bingo, 27 tiles in the bag and an open board. And I have the blank, but I don't have a bingo. Not that I've seen. F, G, P and U, all non-bingo-y. There could be a bingo here. I and E look like the useful floaters. And I suspect any bingo is likely to be two four-letter words stuck together rather than a common prefix or suffix. So how to sort this rack out? What about a play in row N? A play beginning... Well, I have poofs in row N. Interesting. Hanging on to the blank. Still two S's to come for neps. But poofs is available. Over 40 points. Wow, that's big. Retaining G blank, which isn't great. Now, what about above the F of fob? So I have fog in that point, in that spot, keeping ups blank, which is quite nice. Only one U to come and the Q is still out there. So fog is quite attractive. £30 points. Yeah, which means it's comparable to poofs. I have up a go on my rack. But that retains the F, which is non-bingo. I have poof with double F in column 4. Oh wow, opponent bingo, 72 points. Just 8 points. My lead now. Only an E goes underneath the R, so I'm limited in what I can do. Larn takes an S, which is a good reason for hanging on to it. Opponent burns one S, so there's only one S to come. Wow, big play by opponent. So I'm thinking fog for 30. This is a pretty good rack leave. Up is a useful prefix. I'm keeping all bingo lanes open. Yeah, I am. Am I going with this? Yes, I am. So I draw the final U. I have ruptures through this E. Wow. A bingo with 2 U's. Do I have anything else? I have pursuits through the I, which gets doubled. And surely opponent will be drawn to these triple word squares and leave my lovely bingos alone. 17 tiles in the bag. Bingo lane in row B for hooking B. Now, do I have a 7 beginning with S, or with S near the beginning? Does up work in row O? It doesn't. Yeah, opponent goes bottom left, so 14 tiles left. I have pursuits in column 13, but is that best? And what was the play through the E? It was ruptures, which also gets doubled, but provides access to column 15, so I think I prefer pursuits. Very little difference in score. But do I look for a bingo beginning with S? Now, what was that? Was that... Well, is that good? Subrupt. I'm minded to abuse the void challenge rule here. Subrupt for 88, and it's not good. Good, let me get rid of that. That looks like there may be an 8, but I'm looking for a 7 in row O. Nope, not seeing anything there. Throughputs through a T. Now that's pursuit, but that doesn't play in row O. Does it play anywhere else? And there may be a bingo hooking the E of J, but I don't think that's going to outscore. Well, it might be a similar score to pursuits, but pursuits has merit in blocking bingo lanes. Pulchers through the E. Turn-ups. What about turn-ups? Two problems. I think, well, not sure about either of these words, but again, I'm going to abuse the challenge rule. And look at that, turn-ups is good for 88. Fantastic. And wow, this is not a bad 7-letter set. I dodged the Q. Wow, and I may even survive a bingo by opponent, because if opponent bingos, he draws the Q. Well, he plays it. But wow, I had doubts about both turn-ups and Lant. I had a feeling that Lant took 2 hooks, and the 3 candidate letters were S, T, and Y. Wow. So, back to the rack in hand, 8 minutes on my clock. Wow, I have the gate. It's game over. I have avarices. And does that have an anagram? It does. It is caviars, and that's going to score more. Neither gets doubled. But caviars for 68. Wow. Now, opponent's got a pretty tidy rack. Looks close to a bingo. I don't think he's got one. Am I going to go out with this rack? I feel I won't. It doesn't feel that great. I'm not seeing a 5-letter word on the rack, which were it to exist, would probably play in row B. Where are the floaters? W. Doesn't look good. Wow, what a crazy end with turn-ups followed by caviars. Insane. GIF is good, so I have goat in row B. And still 8 minutes on my clock. Wow, tons of time. No 5-letter lane in row O. Okay, so 15 for opponents. Sig is good and sit. But I don't have a 4-letter play in column 15. Opponent's got EIL on his rack, so he's got lie in row B. And lie in column 15. So this is my last play. What can I score? What about row H? Yeah, I have a go. 23 points, that's pretty good. Let me just have a quick squiz down the board and see if anything looks like it might be better. No, I'm not seeing anything. I am going with this. And opponent has 6 minutes to find his best outplay. And there we go. And the final score, 389 for opponent, 507 for me, a winning margin of 118 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Wow, what a game. Absolutely sensational stuff and a crazy, crazy ending. So here we go. Opponent to go first. Great start of 42 points with Hizen. And wow, I start with a bingo. 80 points, so there was no double through the eye. I'm glad I aborted that search. Opponent plays Ween, and this was a tricky rack. I didn't play Pine, K3. Oh wow, that would have been nice. I considered an E under Dar, but not the Y. Not a great rack lead. What do? I played Benzil for 24, keeping LP. Yeah, although it's 13 points difference and the rack leaves won't differ by 13, I'm going to get into trouble a lot more with BLL than with LP. Opponent's rack plays Foe. And now what do? I play Gallop for 24. D1 Parole. Wow, a lot more points, keeping GQ. Yeah. Not sure about that because it's opening column 1 and G goes particularly badly with Q, so I like my play. Oh wow, opponent's rack, 3 U's. Changes, and now I change, and the best on offer Dervs for 18, I3. Yeah, I think changing is better. Opponent plays Diane, and look at this, I've drawn fantastically well, but wow, Minster plays in row M for 92. What do I get? A miserable 89, so 3 points needlessly left on the table. Nice rack for opponent. No bingo, plays Remet. And here we go. Well, dupe is good, D1. Oh, wow, getting the J doubled and keeping Wex. So I think that would have been the play. What do? Yeah, I played Jer for 33, so 19 fewer points. And my rack leave isn't better than that after dupe. Dupe does provide access for a 5-letter J play, but again, that's not particularly dangerous, so I think dupe would have been better. Opponent plays Bijou. And wow, I was waiting for a review to come up, but it's way down here in 4th place. Same letters, N10. Wyver, which takes an S on the end, as does New. So I think Wyver are a far more volatile play, especially with 2 S's and a blank to come. Yeah, so I'm happy with review. Fantastic rack for opponent. And he would have had a Rasian in row O if I had played Wyver. Wow, it's the only bingo. Gosh. Now, my rack, and I play Fog for 30, and, well, N10, forget about that because that's taking out the row O bingo lane. So Fog for 30, keeping Sup blank as opposed to Poofs burning the S, 15 more points. I think those moves are going to be similar. Yeah, so I like my play. Opponent's rack, very non-bingo-y. Plays Coal. And here we go. I have turn-ups for 88. And look at this, an absolute slew of alternative bingos from a rack with only 2 U's as vowels. So delighted to spot turn-ups. And I think it's Lani, which isn't good. I think Lani is spelled E-Y at the end and not just a Y. Opponent plays Chi, and I draw ridiculously well and have a back-to-back bingo with caviars. Opponent plays Diet, and finally there is no out, and I play a Go for 23. And opponent goes out with Lie. So what a game, absolutely cracking fun. A bingo on the opening rack and 2 back-to-back late bingos to secure the win and establish an enormous win and take me over the 500 point mark. So absolutely amazing stuff. Now, we have recently passed the 1,000 subscriber mark, and I did ask on an earlier video for suggestions as to how to mark the occasion, and I'm grateful for those who did make suggestions, but none of them proved compelling either to me or in terms of attracting support from others. So I think I will pass on the suggestions, but what I have chosen to do to mark the occasion is to relaunch, or not relaunch, to launch a further strand to the channel in the form of shorts, which are short YouTube videos, and these are featuring videos of me card boxing 4 or 5 words from my secondary card box, which contains all the funky and interesting words, the 9-letter plays and the JQXZ words. So do check that out if you're interested, and do leave a comment, because I'm sort of experimenting with the format and the actual structure. So if you think there are ways of improving that content, then do let me know. And another reason for choosing to make these videos is that they, I think, would have appeal to both Scrabble players and crosswords, because anagramming, which is what you're doing when you're card boxing, is something which is common between both Scrabble and crosswords. Anyway, do check that out and let me know what you think. Back to this game. Many thanks to opponent for a tremendous battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.